you'll see that here on the channel. They get stuff you guys just don't get to see sometimes. Anyway, this video is another one of those murder or unaliving cases that we've discussed several times on my channel. When I first started researching it, I was completely one direction, and the more I researched it, I kind of swayed a little, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. You always leave me such enlightened comments down below, and you think of things that I don't think of, so please discuss this case down below and tell me what you think, because it is really strange. So this is the strange shooting of Alex Pennig. We're gonna go back to 1990 when Jim and Mary Jo welcomed another bundle of joy into their world in the form of their second daughter, Alexandra, or Alex Pennig. Pennig. Yes. She had a sister named Brittany, and the four of them lived in a loving and caring household. For Jim and Mary Jo, seeing their two daughters just grow up so close and having this deep bond was such a joy for them. And the two of them poured everything that they had into supporting their daughters through every milestone in life, big and small. Alex grew up to become a compassionate, empathetic, and smart woman. Given her helpful and kind nature, she realized that working in the healthcare industry was her calling in life. So in order to achieve her professional goals, she got into Montana State University, where she earned her bachelor's degree in public health. Her education then took her to St. Paul College, where she got her licensed practitioner nursing certificate, before then going on to become a registered nurse, after obtaining training from the Alexandria Technical and Community College. And good for her, because, man, I looked into going further and becoming an RN from an MA, and nope, too much chemistry for me. So, for Jim and Mary Jo, Alex was the light of their lives. She was a young woman filled with boundless love and compassion for everyone. Not just people, but animals as well. She often brought home stray cats, and her parents cherished the kindness that she showed to every living being. Now, Alex did go through a difficult period in her life, and I feel as though I have to mention it. I really wanted to leave it out, but her parents discovered that she was struggling with some mental health issues and addiction. Mary Jo recalled one particularly painful moment when Alex swallowed a handful of pills and told her mother that she wanted to end her life. She then proceeded to throw them up, but her parents stood by her during this challenging time. She went through treatment and found her way back to being healthy. So, after achieving her dream of becoming an RN in the healthcare industry, she constantly looked for the chance to care for forgotten and underprivileged individuals. She was working part-time at a clinic was making sure that her rent was paid. She was refilling her prescriptions and making plans to attend a wedding the following summer. At this point in the case, I have to tell you about a man named Matthew Ecker. When I first started researching this case, and depending on which article you read, Matthew is described as Alex's boyfriend. Matthew Philip Ecker was 45 at the time of this case. He was described as a devoted family man. He was married to a woman named Elizabeth, and the two of them shared 4 children. Their home in Fergus Falls, Minnesota, was gorgeous and perfect from the outside, but the reality was far from different, as Matthew had been having an affair. He met Alex at the clinic where the two of them worked in Fergus Falls. He apparently went to Arizona to visit Alex after she moved there for a while, and then flew there, rented a truck, and helped Alex move back to Minnesota. He said that Alex knew about his wife and their 4 children, and that she was okay with it. The two of them had dated for about 2 years at the time of this case. Matt was also helping Alex with her bills, and an article that I read said he had given her about $30,000 in the process of their relationship, or duration, I guess, of their relationship, which is a lot of money, but he loved her and she loved him, and he was helping her out until she could find a good job. So, in another article that I read, it said that the two of them had broken it off at the time of this case, and Alex was dating someone new, a man named Shane Anderson. So I'm going to talk about this case as though Matt and Alex are broken up, and Alex is dating Shane now. But as I said, if you go research it on your own, you might read that she was dating both of them. And so what? It's irrelevant. I just want you to understand kind of what you hear if you go further in this case. So that brings us to December 22nd of 2022. Matt is on his way to work when he gets a phone call from Alex. She said that Shane had gotten angry with her and that he had punched a couple of things in her apartment and kind of threatened her, and she was really scared because he had keys to her apartment and she was afraid he would come back and hurt her. So Matt decides to call into work and say he won't be able to come in, and he drives the 3 hours to St. Paul to make sure that Alex feels safe for the night. Matt arrives at Alex's apartment around 2 p.m. And initially, they were just kind of hanging there. He was drinking a couple beers, she was drinking some wine. And at around 7 o'clock, I guess Alex got a little antsy and she decides she wants to go to a couple bars that are nearby. Now, before leaving, Matt removes the handgun that he always and he kind of shrugs his shoulders like he was looking for something and couldn't find whatever it was. And when the family reviews this footage, her family said you could definitely tell by Alex's body language that the two of them had gotten into a fight. She apparently, like, stomped in this video, and they said that was a classic Alex thing for her to, like, stomp her feet when she was mad. There was no audio to this video, so we can't exactly be sure. But her mom said, yeah, they were definitely in a fight based on watching her daughter's body language. Now, Matthew's family, of course, believes there's a different reason for her demeanor at this time. She's on her phone, and they wonder if she is texting with Shane Anderson, her boyfriend, other boyfriend, whoever, and they're arguing about this altercation that had just happened at Camp Bar. However, detectives were never able to get into Alex's phone, which I find extremely odd. They didn't know the passcode, so they couldn't break into it. And apparently they were never able to get this information from any other sources, which I know we've done that in prior cases, but whatever. Shane had lost his phone the night before, so if she was texting him, he wasn't responding because he did not have his phone. So they were not arguing via text message at that point in time. Roughly 20 minutes later, at 2:50 a.m., 911 receives a phone call. It is from Matthew Ecker, and he says that Alex has shot herself. The St. Paul police officers race to the apartment building, and Matt lets them inside at 2:56 a.m. After leading the police officers into Alex's apartment, he sits in the hallway. He appears distressed and emotional, and this is all on Bodycam. Officer Justina Husser approaches him and starts to ask him what happened. Their conversation lasted nearly an hour, and it's all on her body camera. Matthew told her everything was fine between him and Alex. They did not have an argument. They were not fighting. He said all of a sudden she grabs his gun out of his backpack, backs into the bathroom, and locks the door. Moments later, Matthew says he heard a shot, so he breaks open the bathroom door to find Alex on the floor with a gunshot wound to her left temple. Responding officers quickly locate the gun. It was on Alex's chest, with her left hand resting on top of it. They noted that this was kind of weird, but one of the officers then moves the gun to the sink to keep it safe. Matthew tells officers that he, after busting in the door, tries to help Alex. He said that there was blood, and he kind of moved her head and put pressure on it to try to stop the bleeding. But before he called 911, he washed his hands, and that's why his hands were clean. But officers noted that the sink in the bathroom where this crime takes place was completely dry, and there was no evidence of blood on the sink handles. If he had just washed his hands, why was there no evidence of water or soap or anything in the sink? Matthew says, I don't know why I washed my hands. I think maybe I didn't want to get blood on my phone. He states that he did not wash off the gun or clean Alex's hands. He said that it was roughly 4 to 8 minutes from when he discovered her to when he called 911. So they take Matthew to the police station to interview him further. investigation continues, Matthew's account starts to shift. Initially, he stated that she had pressed the gun to her head in his presence before retreating to the bathroom. He said that he thought it was weird because she held the gun with her left hand, but she was definitely right-handed. Later, he asserted that he entered the bathroom to find the gun resting on her shoulder, which he then moved to her chest. In yet another interview, he revealed that he had taken the gun from the bathroom and put it back in his backpack out of fear. Now, this gun was his. He did have a permit for it, and he realized, okay, no, I can't do this. So he puts it back on her chest and puts her hand over it. Investigators notice the cleanliness of this gun despite the scene, but again, he said he did not clean it. And when he was questioned over whether he had positioned her hand around the gun, he stated that he could not recall doing so. Now I understand that because you're kind of frantic at this person that you love is dead, okay? Now, Matthew is the last person to see Alex alive, so detectives zero in on him. He's the only one that can really tell us what happened, said Detective O'Donnell. For hours he continued to say that she had locked herself in the bathroom and fired the shot, and that he had broken up to open the door to try to help her. That gun went off behind a closed door. I did not shoot her, he said. But detectives were pretty skeptical, as was I. Then they get the call from the forensics unit, who is still processing the scene. And according to Detective O'Donnell, what they found changes everything. He's incarcerated at the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Rush City, and he has appealed his conviction once already and been denied. He is currently slated for parole eligibility in 2044. So let's talk about this a little. I went on Reddit just to kind of see people's opinions, because sometimes I like to kind of see that before I discuss this parts with you, because you guys don't always discuss in the comments. So, okay, this man is a nurse practitioner. He was writing Alex's prescriptions, and she was not his patient, so that's a no-no. However, there are two sides to this, and the second one I didn't actually realize until later, but he did not do CPR on her, and he said that he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to perform CPR. As a medical professional myself, you do know CPR. There's no way that you are a nurse practitioner who doesn't know CPR, because most places require you to be CPR certified, and it says that you're an emergency room practitioner, which means you're probably doing CPR a lot more than I am in dermatology. Now, when I was looking on Reddit, and the reason I said that there were two sides is he was an emergency room practitioner who probably saw a lot of stuff. I don't know how big of a town that he worked in, but maybe when he saw her, he knew that even if he did CPR, it wouldn't have helped. I find it strange that in some of the articles that I read and some of the videos that I watched, it said that the blood surrounding her was already dry, when the CCTV footage clearly shows them just 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes by the time the police arrive. So I don't think that he called 911 right away. I don't think that he tried to stop the bleeding. Now he could have turned the knobs on, like with his elbow, because his hands were dirty. And that's why there was no blood on the knobs of the sink. I don't know, I still find that kind of weird. I didn't actually look at the knobs when I saw the picture of the gun on the sink to see if that was even possible. Sometimes you can't do that. Like my sink, there would be no way. You actually have to turn it. I think it's really, really odd that he had no gunshot residue on him at all. I think it's really, really weird that he had no blood on him at all. If he got down on the floor to try to stop the bleeding, you had to get it on you somehow, you know what I mean? On your shoes, on your knees, on your shorts, on your hands. I'm not saying you have to have it spattered all over you, but one would think there would be some sort of evidence of blood somewhere if you tried to help her. Gunshot residue on his hands. Okay, well, he admittedly washed his hands, and I don't know if when you wash your hands, like with soap, if you scrub them, does that remove all of the gunshot residue? It did say that she had gunshot residue on her left hand. I find it really weird that someone who is right-handed and not inclined to be around any sort of weapon like this would use their left hand to shoot themselves in the temple. That to me is really, really, really weird. Just doesn't sit he was owed a little, I don't know. I don't know if maybe he told her that he couldn't write her prescriptions anymore and she got anxious and that led into a fight, or she told him that she was going to tell his wife about their affair, because I don't know if the wife knew or not. There are so many unanswered questions in this case, and this man went to jail for 30 years over a metal ring that was found underneath her. For all we know, that metal ring was busted out of there already. Maybe it fell out all the time and she just wasn't alive to tell us that that was the case. I find that extremely odd. But maybe that is the case. And this guy's future relied on a quarter piece of metal. I don't know. So tell me down below, do you think Alex Pennig unalived herself with her left hand? Or do you think that Matthew Ecker unalived her instead? And if you do believe either way, please tell me why, because I would love to know what you think. Do you think they got into a fight? Do you think she was going to tell his wife? Do you think she was going to move in with her boyfriend and Matt was jealous? I would love to know your thoughts and theories on this case down below. If you're still listening, please leave me some kind of emoji or something if you don't have any comments to promote my channel for the algorithm. If you're not already, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I have finally gotten over 7,000 subscribers, so I want to make it to 8,000 sometime.